I come from Oregon, and we're all concerned about the sacred owl out there, spotted owl. I was sitting next to a scientist from the Lord sits me next to interesting people, as I say, sitting next to a scientist from the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. I had a very interesting time. And I said, why are we so concerned about the spotted owl? Why are we concerned about endangered species? Well, he said, we ought to be concerned about. Well, I said, I thought that was how evolution worked. I thought it was survival of the fittest. If those critters can't survive on their own, let them go. I'm just trying to be logical. Doesn't that make sense? How come here we are pretty late down the road in the evolutionary process? Why are we getting our finger in the pie? All worried about no, look, that's the way evolution does it. Let evolution do it, okay? Well, too much to talk about, but so it all started with a Big Bang. Now, I think most Christians believe in the Big Bang. I'll tell you, I don't believe in the Big Bang. There are a lot of reasons why I don't believe in the Big Bang, and I can't go into them, but I'll just give you one thing to think about. We have a gentleman back there, a scientist. By the way, he's one of those that received that most notable award from England too, named Louis Pasteur. You all know his name because you get pasteurized milk. And what did he prove? He proved that there is no such thing as spontaneous generation. You don't get life from dead matter, okay? There's no life in dead matter. It takes life to produce life, all right? They call that the law of biogenesis. Life only comes from life. Now, we got a Big Bang. It has sterilized everything 1 billion times over. There ain't no life. But here we are. Well, I guess life does come from dead things after all. And I quote a few Nobel Prize winners in the book. Here's George Wald, Nobel Prize winner, Harvard professor, retired now. He may not still be living, I'm not sure. But anyway, he says, we all know that Pasteur, what he has proven, we all know that the law of biogenesis is just as sure as any of the laws of thermodynamics. We all know that life can't come from dead matter, but here we are, I guess, as the product of spontaneous generation. The only way you can explain it, because otherwise you got to believe in some miraculous supernatural act of creation. I quote another geneticist, Lewontin. He says, we will follow science no matter how stupid its proposals are, and some of them are, because, and these are his exact words, we will not allow a divine foot in the door. These men, unless they repent sooner, they are going to regret that for all eternity. That will haunt them. But so this is where we are, okay? It wasn't always this way. The early scientists, in fact, the founders of science, let me name some of them for you. Louis Agassiz, founder of glacial science. Sir Francis Bacon established a scientific method of inquiry based on experimentation and inductive reasoning. These are all, not all of them were Christians. They all believed in God, but most of them were Christians. Sir Charles Bell, first to extensively map the brain and the nervous system. Robert Boyle, founder of Boyle's Law for gases, who they still study that today. It's one of the most complicated things you ever ran into. who by his will endowed the Boyle Lectures, still carried on today at Oxford University. These are his words in his will, quote, "for proving the Christian religion against notorious infidels." And they are still doing those lectures today. Oxford University happens to be where Richard Dawkins is, one of those notorious infidels. What about Nicholas Copernicus, who set forth the first mathematically based system of planets orbiting the sun? Georges Cuvier, founder of comparative anatomy. John Dalton, father of modern atomic theory. René Descartes, mathematician, scientist, and philosopher, called the father of modern philosophy. Jean-Henri Favre, chief founder of modern entomology. Michael Faraday, one of the greatest scientists of the 19th century, who revolutionized physics with his work on electricity and magnetism. James Joule, discoverer of the first law of thermodynamics. William Thomas Kelvin, among the first to clearly state the second law of thermodynamics. Johannes Kepler, mathematician, astronomer, discovered the laws of planetary motion. I can go on and on. James Clerk Maxwell and so forth. I've given you already too many. These men believed in God, okay? Today you get the impression that scientists don't believe in God anymore. Someone has put it like this. Not only were the founders of modern science Christians, it is no coincidence they were all part of a Christian culture. I'll use Christian in a broad term. But nevertheless, they were part of a culture that believed the universe made sense because God created it, okay? And this person has asked this question. Why were these great men of science part of a Christian culture, and why do they not have any counterparts in any other culture? Where is the Greek version of Newton? Where is the Muslim version of Kepler? Where is the Hindu version of Boyle? Where is the Buddhist version of Mendel? Such questions are all the more powerful when you pause to consider that science studies universal truths. How is it that so many other cultures, some existing for thousands of years, failed to discover or even anticipate Newton's first law of motion or Kepler's laws of planetary motion? So it's not just that the Christian religion is associated with the birth of modern science, but that modern science was not birthed in cultures which lacked the Christian religion. That's just a simple fact. And yet today, who is consulted by the media? You want to talk to a scientist? Okay, well, we'll get Richard Dawkins on the phone or in front of our camera. So you get the impression now that that science is atheistic. Now, what difference does it make? Well, Sir Francis Crick, co-discoverer of the the gene, the genetic language, and so forth. He wrote a book. I have to read all these guys' books. I got to know what they say, how they think, and so forth. His book is entitled, the subtitle is The Astonishing Search for the Soul. But by soul, he does not mean what we mean. He does not mean what the Bible means. You have to be careful with the language they use. Now, he's not searching for the soul, as we understand it. He is searching for some thing, some law, some principle that will explain everything without the soul. Okay? That's what he means. He titles his book, The Astonishing Hypothesis. Now let me read the opening statements of that book. I think you'll be astonished too.